right, so last night I watched the double feature of Nobody and Sisu, and they had a very good marketing campaign for this one. I thought it was pretty smart when it said that, because it has a dog in the trailer and he's like the companion of our main character, that they put in the trailer, "Don't worry, the dog doesn't die." And I thought that that was very smart marketing because a lot of people will avoid movies, like action movies or horror movies, anything that where people die. Not dramas and not comedies, and typically that's not where animals die. Typically, they're more likely to die in an action movie or a horror movie or whatnot. And so when there's dogs in trailers, like prominently displayed dogs in trailers, people are terrified that the dog is going to get killed. And so to actually market the movie and be like, "Don't worry, the dog doesn't die," I thought was a really smart strategy. So, yeah, this is a finished film that I finished, and let's talk about it. This is a finished character that refuses to be finished. These finished jokes are gonna get really lame. All right, I'm finished. Sisu 2 comes out November 21st, apparently. I have not seen a poster or a trailer yet, and we're in August. So in 3 months, will they be releasing that stuff, or is this going to get pushed? We shall see. But yeah, this is a movie I watched when it came out, and I watched it with Kaylee. She enjoyed it, but action's not her thing, hence why she's not here for either of these reviews. She just finds horror. She mostly likes horror only, but she definitely steps outside of it. But action is easily her least favorite of the genres. But not me. I love them. So in this, we get kind of the end of World War II, which is a very fascinating piece of World War II, where Hitler killed himself, and the Germans, the Nazis, kind of surrendered and were bowing out of the war, and it was kind of passed down through the grapevine, like get rid of as much evidence as you can, so to speak, and so they like the terrible people that they were, in places like the concentration camps, they just went through, and instead of just being like, all right, like, you made it through the war, this just once again takes away all credibility that they were just following orders or some bullshit like that. These people literally like went through after the war was finishing. Like, it was done. They'd lost. They moved on. Hitler was dead. There was no, Third Reich takeover happening anymore. They went through and they started just killing as many of these, people in the concentration camps as they could, smashing them. Anyway, it's terrible. I don't want to talk about it, but I've looked a lot into World War II over the years, and it's just the worst, deepest, darkest parts of humanity on display. It's probably the best example we have for the depravity that humans can stoop to. It's terrible. And yeah, so we have the Germans here who are like, they're heading home, and they're like still laying out landmines. They're still raping women. They're still like they're just still being awful because they're fucking awful. Period. Anyone who was still taking orders at the end of the war, I don't care. You're not getting me to do any of this shit. Period. Right? Like, if you tried to get me to put a bunch of people in a gas chamber and pull the lever. Or that's not what they did. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to explain. It's disgusting and doesn't need to be thought about at the moment. But regardless, if you told me to gas a whole bunch of people, no way. It's just not happening, dude. I would rather take a bullet any day of the week than to incarcerate thousands and thousands or millions of people and starve them and torture them and gas them all to death, all so that I can live. No, I want to live as much as anybody. I have no death wish. I very much value life. I love living. I love having my family, but there are ethical and moral lines that every one of us should have a line in the sand on, and we will not cross them, even at the the threat and face of death. Just, it's not worth it. It's just not. Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting to see like the end of the war. We typically don't see that part. We see when we're like deep in it, right? And the Germans are still going strong, and we're trying to take them out. But no, this one's just like at the end of the war. And we see this like rape wagon that these guys carry with all these women in, and this one dude's in there, and he's just had his way with these girls, and he's coming out. And of course, later in the movie, spoilers obviously, these girls get their vengeance on him specifically, which is great. And it's just, you have Nazis, which is probably the easiest way instantaneously to get most people, rational people, to instantly want people dead. I think it's the easiest way to get most of your audience. I don't know how it's not all, but unfortunately there's still dipshits out there who somehow seem to think the Nazis were based. Man, education has really fallen off a fucking cliff if you think the Nazis and fascism is based. But it's like the easiest way to get an audience collectively on board with like, yeah, we should kill them. There's kind of a lot of like discourse on the death penalty and whether or not humans should kill other humans and this and that. But when it comes to the Nazis, I think most people are like, well, those guys should probably just die. So it's easy. It's a very easy way to get the majority of your audience instantaneously on board with like, these are the bad guys. There's no black and white here, and they've got to die. And I'm going to get a catharsis out of their demise. And then to make them rapists, like very quickly too, to show these girls being abused by this Nazi, it's like doubling down on, the like murder hunger that you're just going to be stricken with through the movie. You're just going to be like, I can't be satiated. My bloodlust for Nazi blood is insatiable. And that's definitely how this movie plays out. It's like, you can't kill enough Nazis to ever satisfy me. It's like, you got to just keep killing more and more of them endlessly. And when they just pass this guy and he's on a horse and he's just riding, and he's just casually like riding by them, but then he also casually is riding by like dude after dude and people being hanged from I think they're electric poles, but yeah, imagine just walking down or like, driving your car or whatever down the street, and there's just people hanged all down the street, and it's just like business as usual, just common occurrence that you're used to at this, like, it's crazy to think of what people saw on a daily basis and actually became accustomed to. And it's not like that's not a thing right now, right? Like, there's definitely things like that going on right now. You've got people in Gaza who are being absolutely obliterated on a daily basis. You watch the videos, and if you look at the, the destruction of their city and what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, it's mind-blowing. It really is. Like, we think we have a bad day here in the United States, and it's like someone cuts you off in traffic and it takes you 10 extra minutes to get home, and you went to the grocery store and they were out of your favorite cereal or whatever, and you're like, why does my life suck? Why is it everything so terrible? And I know all pain is relative, and it's like, it doesn't mean because there's people suffering worse than you that you shouldn't ever complain. I'm not a subscriber to that, but I don't know. It's just like the lopsided nature of things, of how, the first world problems, where it's like, my cell phone, I woke up and it wasn't plugged in this morning, and now I have a phone that doesn't have a charge on it. Like, and someone's like really mad about that, and then it's like, the people in the world who deal with actual problems, it's just, I guess it's the disparaging. Anyway, let's talk about this movie. So yeah, this is a fun watch for sure. It's a ridiculous movie. It's an absolutely absurd film about a kind of like a mythological boogeyman, so to speak. This is like the Baba Yaga from John Wick or something, where he's more legend than man, and they just so happen to cross paths with this immortal god who refuses to die. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's just that he has this like, they say in the opening that this is like a Finnish word that is untranslatable, but essentially it just boils down to this endless fight. Like, you'll never give up, ever. You refuse to quit. And this guy is just refuses to die. And I love that. I love that it's like, it's presenting itself like it's almost real, where it's like, yes, he has a mortal body, and yes, he takes mortal wounds, and he gets shot, and he gets hanged, and he sustains actual physical injuries. His body isn't impervious to damage or anything. It's just that the guy is so focused and angry that he literally just refuses to let his body die on him. I love that. I can't say that I don't love it. It's great. Good gore, really cool kills and moments where he blows guys' heads off and stuff. So love that stuff. And the trifecta. You got Nazis, you got that they're rapists, and they're shooting at a dog for no reason in this other than just to be assholes. It's like the perfect trifecta of, me wanting to murder you. Fascism, you got a fascist, rapist, dog killer. I don't think you could string along 3 words, 3 descriptors of a human being that would make me want to kill them more. That's pretty much the trifecta right there. And that poor horse gets blown up. That's terrible. When he goes out there and he like throws a rock and blows up a mine to give him cover, and then he sends those guys out and he picks up a mine and throws it at the guy and it hits him in the head and blows him up. That's hilarious. And my wife's always like trying to stay quiet in the background, like she's not a part of this channel. That's always funny to me. Like, you can exist, my love. When they find out about his war history and they say that he has 300 confirmed Russian kills. I mean, how many friggin' guys, how many Nazis die in this movie? At least 50, right? I mean, but probably 20 of those are by the chicks, which is great. I love to see them get their revenge. I also like the kind of the driving force for the plot of the movie, where the Nazis are kind of relentlessly pursuing this guy because he has gold. He has a lot of gold, and the war's over, and they know that they're going back to nothing, and that they're probably going to be, prosecuted. I mean, they don't obviously know anything about the Nuremberg trials at this point, but regardless, they know that it's not looking good for them, right? They're going to be charged for war crimes, especially the higher ranks that they are, and this guy wants the gold to try to buy his freedom and get out of his responsibility to this war. So I like that. I like that there's a reason why this guy won't stop coming after him. And our main guy here, which I forget his name. It's not Sisu. It's something completely different. He lights himself on fire to escape being attacked by this dog in them, and then runs and jumps in the water. And then they go out there with the boat, and he's sending them one at a time, and he like kills this guy, slits his throat, and sucks the oxygen out of his slit throat. Absurd. I don't think you could do that, but it's cool. It's cool. I don't think it's possible, but I don't give a shit. Then, like I said in the Nobody review, which this is even 10 times more absurd, maybe even 100 times more absurd. So while it's even somewhat possible in Nobody for him to use a body as cover, and for maybe some of, all of those shots to not go all the way through a body, it's possible. I mean, if it was shot just right, blah, 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 it could be possible. But what we have in this movie is beyond impossible, but everything in this movie is beyond impossible. He uses a body as a shield from like a tank gun. Those things had 50 caliber guns attached to them and shot. Dude, if you don't know what a 50 caliber round would do to a human body, let me tell you, there wouldn't, even if for some reason that body was able to protect him from one, it wouldn't. But let's just say it took the damage of the first shot. There'd be nothing left of that body. When you get hit by a freaking tank gun, not the obvious, like the big tank munitions. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mounted turret gun on top of the tank. Dude, those things they're not even really for human bodies as much as they're for like armor piercing through vehicles, other tanks, stuff like that. Those things, what they're do to a human body would be just to absolutely incinerate it. So the fact that it gets, like, he's running and this body gets shot multiple times in the movie as he's running with it on his back, and it's like taking the damage and taking the bullets. No. No. You're not taking a tank gun's rounds in the back of a body and not getting hurt. That's not even remotely believable. They also use a grenade that they strap to his dog and bring it in, and he has to throw the grenade and protect the dog, and this is when he gets hanged. And yeah, he just, once again, he uses his a wound in his leg to stick it into this metal rod that's sticking out, and he does that to like prop himself up, and then a plane flies by which gives enough vibration to knock him off of the sign, and then he fights his way and kills both of those guys. Good scene. But that one guy keeps screaming for the other guy to shoot the dog. These guys are just asking for it. And then when those dudes pull up on the motorcycle and just see him, and he's got like, I guess that's a little later, but he has the pickaxe, and they just pull up and they see him, and after everything they've heard and seen, they're like, nope, we're good. And they just run away. Yeah, that'd be me. That'd be me for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be a Nazi, but if I was to encounter this guy, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good, dude. Like, my chances against you are very, very low, clearly. This guy refuses to die. Okay, I refuse to fight him then. And let's see. The Yeah, I mean, we get him like patching himself up and like pouring gasoline on his wounds to cleanse them and stuff. This dude is hardcore for sure. And the women knowing of him and like kind of telling his story and then him giving them their ability to get their vengeance, great stuff. Great stuff, of course. And yeah, I mean, he gets on the tank and he's like, you know, banging on the door basically and pulls the guy up and they're fighting and gets pulled off and he just leaves the guy behind. And then the other guy in the tank who's stuck with him by his side the whole movie, he just shoots him in the head at the end. Like, that's just it. That's why these kinds of people fascinate me. You know, these clearly awful leaders throughout history where they have absolutely no allegiance to anybody. They only want what you can give them. And as soon as they're done with you, they just dispose of you. Like you were nothing. Like, and this is just so true of all of these, like, either dictators or wannabe dictators. It's fascinating to me that these people somehow get others to follow them and do it in a way where they think that they're going to have their back. And it's like, but there's so much precedence for the opposite. Don't you see it? Haven't you seen how many times this guy has turned on anybody and everybody who's worked for him previously? Don't you get it? How many times does this have to happen before you think, all right, he's probably going to do this to me too? Like, I know that a lot of this is fear, right? And whatnot. But God, there just seems to be so many people that are such bootlickers, that are such sycophants, even in modern politics, where it's like, this guy has turned on everybody in his administration. Every fucking person. Anybody who speaks up, says anything to the contrary, they flip on instantly. But somehow people still are in his corner. Somehow people are still like, no, that's not going to happen to me. And this goes back as far as you can think, right? Whether it's the Egyptians or Rome or any of this stuff. Whenever you look at the history of these things, you have these kind of like mad kings that rule over things, and they kill everybody. They betray everyone's trust. They never stick by their people, and you just always wonder, like, how the fuck do people fall for this shit? I would see that once, and I would be like, okay, this guy's not trustworthy. This guy's only in it for himself. This guy only cares about himself. I'm out. No thank you. Adios. Goodbye. But I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm a rational, like, coherent person, observer. I don't know. Are people really that fucking dumb? Stubborn or oblivious or evil, or I don't know. But this guy who sticks with him when he sends his own men out into the minefield to blow up, who would stick by a guy like that? Then he sends the guys out on the boat and he's like, if you don't do what I tell you and go down there and die, I'm gonna have you shot. Who would stick by that guy? I'll just never understand it. I see, and it's like, yeah, it happens in movies a lot, and this is fictional and this and that, but it happens in real life. It's happening right now. I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it. Anyway, then we get the whole the fight on the plane. He goes and he sticks his freaking. This is where the film really gets absurd and fun. Like, this is, yeah, fuck it. Let's take it to 11. Why not? He takes his axe, his pickaxe, he sticks it in the back of this freaking plane, and he's holding on. He gets up in the landing gear, and he punctures his way into there, and then he uses his hands to pull metal apart to pull himself up into the plane before anyone can even notice and come to check, and he's up already and ready to fight. Ridiculous. And they get in their fight, and the main Nazi guy, he actually gets the better of him and has him on the ground and has kind of defeated him. Now he's taken a lot of damage. It's, obviously he has a reason to be tired and not be able to fight as well anymore. But he puts this thing around his hand to use almost as brass knuckles, and our main guy here uses that against him because he has it wrapped around his hand, and he straps it to a bomb, and then he drops the bomb, and the guy gets pulled out with it and blows up when it hits the ground, and the guy's like saying fuck you as he falls. Great stuff all around. That was a really fun written scene. Then the plane crash. This thing literally hits the ground and vanishes. Now it's supposed to like go into the mud, I guess is what we're led to believe here. And I actually read something once, I don't know how true this is, that if you were to fall out of a plane without a parachute, the only chance you would have of surviving that is if you hit mud. Something about the consistency of mud. Now, your whole body would be broken, and you'd probably be laying there in agony, and you'd probably die of internal bleeding and whatever. But you would technically survive for maybe a bit, or maybe brain damage and all that would probably occur. But that would do the least amount of damage to your body. But this, I don't know. There's not like some splash of mud in every direction or anything. It just looks like the plane kind of hits the ground and disappears and vanishes from sight. It looks like it just implodes on impact. And somehow he just crawls out of the mud like, no, I'm good. And then, yeah, he takes he finds his pooch. He gets the motorcycle, right? And he brings the gold in. And this is finally, thank God, he speaks at least. I hate these like voiceless characters who never speak in a movie. They're just tropey. It's not like I hate every one of them, but it's just an overused thing at this point. But he goes in and he's like, I want bills, big bills. This won't be so heavy to carry anymore. And, these are his final lines, and dumping out all the gold on the table covered in blood and mud. And yeah, that was funny. That was a fun ending. And so yeah, very fun movie, great gore, good relationship with the dog. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of him and the pooch, and the dog having a little bit more interaction with the fight and whatnot. But I'll be very curious to see it part 2. I have no idea what this could possibly be about. Maybe it's a prequel. That would be actually kind of cool to see what happened to him in the war, where his like family was killed or whatever, and he goes and kills like all of these Russians. That would actually be cool. That's actually what I would want to see, because I don't know where we go from here. Like the end of the war, he's gonna go where? Just continue on from that scene? Is it just going to pick up right there and he encounters more Germans who still haven't given up? I don't know. What do you think the sequel will be? Do you think it will make its November 21st deadline? And what's your favorite kill? And do you support fascism? If you do, you should probably consider checking out a different channel. Other than that, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.